Welcome to Not Starving Artist, the podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Benson, money coach and equity actor. I am your financial cheerleader, here to help you build your financial confidence and have power over your money. The best part, no budgeting or bi-weekly paychecks required. I went from being a broke BFA grad having weekly panic attacks about money to a financially confident, wealth-building actor and business owner. Money gets to feel fun, simple, and sexy, and I am going to show you how. Before we dive into the episode, I am so excited to share with you that my brand new online course, Cashed Up Creatives, is officially out now. Now, this course is for my artists with neurospicy brains, my bi-weekly paycheck cuties who just don't want a budget, or anyone who wants to get out of that paycheck to paycheck cycle and finally experience financial wellness. This course is for you. It's gonna help you get 3 months ahead on bills. It's gonna help you pay off debt while you still take vacations. It's gonna help you manage your fluctuating or consistent income with ease. You're gonna be able to confidently talk to your parents or partner about your money decisions. You're gonna be able to open a retirement account and invest your first or next $500. You're always gonna have surplus in your bank account, and it's gonna teach you how to ditch your scarcity mindset so you can feel abundant with money. Now, this is a self-study course, meaning that when you make your one-time payment of $247, you have immediate access to the course content for life. And on top of lifetime access, the best part about what I'm sharing with you today is that for the rest of 2025, I am going to be hosting live monthly office hours for anyone who has joined the course. Totally for free, included with the price that you pay for the course itself. I, of course, recommend joining as soon as possible because the earlier you join, the more of those monthly office hours calls that you are going to get to attend. I cannot wait to see you inside and to help you get cashed up. Hi, everyone. What you are about to hear for the next 10 weeks on the podcast is replays of the Instagram live series I did at the beginning of this year called Money Affirmations series. How to actually make more money in 2025 with mantras and affirmations, with mindset work. Also, if you're hearing ambient noise in the background, it's because I'm in the Delta Sky Lounge because I wasn't able to record this before I left for my trip this week. So that's what you're hearing. And I'm excited to bring this to you all on the podcast. One, because now the Instagram live series is buried in the feed. And I know a lot of people have been like, wait, where can I find it? I can't figure out where those days are. Okay. It's here. It's now going to live in the podcast. I also know that it was so impactful for the people who did go through it at the beginning of this year, the amount that they were able to crack open into their actual money mindset blocks and then actually were able to make more money from this series, which is what I want for all of you. So if you have done it before, time to revisit. We are well into Q2, so it is time to revisit these affirmations. Go through it again and see what shifted for you from the first time you've done it. And if you haven't done it yet, great. Welcome to the party. Let's get you working on your mindset in a way that's actually going to benefit you tactically. We love when you feel better. We love when you feel more ease. We love when you feel more abundant in your headspace. But I want to make sure that this is actually translating then to your tactical action, to your actual bank accounts. Okay. That's what this series is. So for the next 10 weeks, you're going to get, it was a 10-day series when I did it on Instagram. So you'll get one day each week for the next 10 weeks, especially if you've been avoiding journaling or wanting to do mindset work, but not really sure, how to dive in. Do I do a prompt? Do I do a meditation? This is a great place to start. Let's dive deep. I'm going to be right there with you going through this affirmation series again as well. Let's enjoy and let's make more money in the rest of 2025. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of Money Affirmations that actually work, aka how to bring in more money into your bank accounts, into your paychecks, into your investment accounts in 2025 using mindset work. Because when we're talking about mindset work, the only reason we do mindset work is so practically, in the physical realm, things start changing. You're actually able to bring in more money because you're feeling better in your brain space. If you were here yesterday and you heard my fire alarm beeping, it will still be beeping today because even though I changed the battery, literally last night was that episode from Friends where Phoebe can't get her fire alarm to stop beeping and she starts going insane. 4 a.m. this motherfucker started beeping again, even after changing the battery. So stay tuned. We're getting our super to come look at it. But that will be happening throughout the duration of this live. So as a reminder, how this works is we are going to choose an affirmation today to really dive deep into. And we're going to make this affirmation actually feel like something in your body. And I'm going to give you some tools and tips to activate it and actually have you moving differently. So if you are here live, I would love for the first person who drops a number 1 through 10, that is the number that we will do today for the affirmations. 1 through 10, we have already done 4, 6, and 9. So any number that isn't 4, 6, and 9, 8. Fantastic. Okay. So let me refresh on the 3 days we did before, and then we'll move on to number 8. First day was, I release all resistance to attracting money. Second day was, making money is easy and enjoyable. Day 3 was, every dollar I spend circulates and returns to me multiplied. And today now, I love this one. I am in control of my financial destiny. I'll read it again. I am in control of my financial destiny. So first thing we always do when you hear an affirmation, when you read an affirmation, is what comes up for you immediately in your body and in your brain when you read that affirmation. So again, if you're here live, feel free to drop in the chat what came up for you in your body and in your brain. I am in control of my financial destiny. So I'm going to tell you a story. This one is one I had to do a lot of work on back when I was like first diving into what financial wellness would look like for me as an artist. Because when I was in college, something I realized was that I wasn't going to be given the tactical, practical information about how to do money as an artist. It was like, you're going to be broke. That phrase, your soul will be full, but your stomach will be empty. Like, get used to being broke. That was the narrative that was given to, like, when you decide you're going to be an artist, that's what is given to you, right? And so it took a lot of work for me when I was first starting my financial wellness journey to believe that my financial destiny was in my control, because everything that was being told to me was like, it's not in your control. You are going to be broke, right? And you are going to have to work a restaurant job or work in catering or find one of these rare remote jobs at the time when like remote virtual assistant work like wasn't a huge thing. You're going to have to find one of those, or you're going to have to babysit in your free time. You're going to have to do something like that until you make it, right? Back when like making it sort of had a like ladder that you could start climbing, and like once you had your one big movie or role or tour, then you would just like keep getting work. That has never really been the case like since old Hollywood went away. But even more so now when like factions of media fans and how people consume media are continuing to split, like that's not really a thing anymore, but that's what was being like fed to us. And so I had to do a lot of work of like, if I want to enjoy my life. I was actually having a really fantastic conversation with my sister the other day, because she is a writer out in LA, right? And I'm an actor here in New York. So both of our parents are not artists, not in the creative realm. So the fact that they ended up with like 2 daughters who fully went into like freelance artistry, we had to figure it out for ourselves. We didn't have a roadmap from our parents. And so we were talking about this because she's been out of college for a while. I've obviously been here for a minute now. And she was talking about how she had this realization. She was part of a big layoff with one of the big studios that happened last year. And she was talking about how she realized that she had to stop making decisions and staying in things based on promises for the future. She was like, if I'm not at least somewhat enjoying what I'm doing today, I can't keep doing it. And I thought that was so wise of her. She's my younger sister. So anytime she says something like very wise, I'm like, wow, look at you. Like, let me write that down in my journal. But she's going through that journey. But I think it's so prevalent to so many of us as artists, because so many of us end up stuck in a life that we're not enjoying based on a promise of what will happen for us in the future, especially financially, right? And artistically. So we're in jobs that we hate or that are sucking our soul based on the promise of, like, for her, it was, possibly getting put in a writer's room at this like company that she was working at. And like, for me, it was, okay, I'm going to keep hustling and nannying and teaching online and just like making ends meet until I am like on the regional circuit and I'm getting booked consistently. But like for both of us, we did not super enjoy those day-to-day jobs and those lives. And so what we both like realized and what we were talking about was how both of us had to come to this realization of our financial destiny is in our hands. And so as artists, you can't be waiting for this, like takes away your autonomy when you're waiting for that external source to give you the job, to give you the money, to give you the creative fulfillment, right? You're waiting for that and you're just biding your time. And what my sister was saying, she was like, equally, like I could live till I'm 95 and tomorrow is not promised, right? And so having to strike that balance, exactly, finding joy is critical. You have to find not only the joy, but the sustainability from yourself, right? Financial autonomy is my big core mission here at Not Starving Artists, is making sure that every single one of you feels financial autonomy, because financial autonomy gives you autonomy overall. Like when you have financial autonomy, money gives you that freedom, that opportunity, that choice, right? For anything and everything, right? So my sister currently in a space of looking for a new job and being pickier about the kind of work that she takes on, but her money gave her that space and time, right? When my partner was going through the same thing, going through a job search, he had to do that. Like he used his buffer fund in order to give himself space and time. I had a client who burnt out at her corporate job and went on like a literal 18-month sabbatical, and her money allowed her to give herself that space and time. Like she was able to say no to this job that was by all means like the most successful. She was perceived as being highly successful, but she wasn't happy, right? And it was this promise of like all the stuff that that job would have given her, right? She was like, I'm not happy. So like, I can't keep going. And so what money does is it gives you that time, freedom, choice, and autonomy. So you can choose anything and everything, like, and put financial autonomy into your relationships, right? Not feeling like you have to stay with someone just because your rent is cheaper when you're sharing an apartment, or being able to hold your own if you need to leave a relationship, right? I had a client who that was her experience. She needed to leave a relationship. And so working on allowing herself to believe that her money would support her during that transition, because she couldn't stay in something that was actively draining her. So going back to today's affirmation, I am in control of my financial destiny. So we're going to use a couple of the tools that I've given throughout this past week of how to activate this affirmation, because most likely what happened when I said I am in control of my financial destiny, your brain cataloged it as true or false, right? Do you like that your brain cataloged it as true or false? Clock that, like what happened in your brain, but then also what happened in your body, right? Like, did that feel expansive? Did that feel scary? Was it in your heart, in your gut? Where did it show up? Then I want us to use the what if principle. So the what if principle is adding what if to the beginning of the affirmation to start to activate it as a question. So instead of I am in control of my financial destiny, it now is what if I was in control of my financial destiny? So every single time I do the what if principle throughout this series, and like my body, there's just a breath that floats over my body when I think about the affirmation in that phrasing. What if I was fully in control of my financial destiny? And this is where you're going to do that deep work, where you're going to go journal, or you're going to go take a walk and think, and you're going to ask yourself, what if I was in control of my financial destiny? Totally, completely, and wholly. What if I had full financial autonomy? What if I was able to control whether or not I had financial autonomy in my life? You see how I'm even rephrasing that question, right? I'd be unstoppable, 1,000%, right? Like if that was your reality, you would be unstoppable. So the other ways you can journal about this affirmation is, who is the person who has full control of their financial destiny? How do they show up every day? What are the things that they think and feel? Like, who is that person? And then with that data that you've discovered through your journaling, how can you embody that persona, that identity in your day-to-day? And so through this journaling then, right, like if I was in full control of my financial destiny, what would my life look like? What would I get to experience? as you're going through that list of things, you're going to start to find where the resistance is. So when you're asking yourself, what would that look like? Or why do I not feel in control of my financial destiny? So if your brain said that is a false statement, you're going to now ask yourself, why is that false? List out the evidence that your brain is giving you of why that is false. Because there's a reason your brain told you that was false. It's not just doing that. I swear to God, this fire alarm. I'm going to cut the wires. It's hardwired into our ceiling. So like there's a battery that beeps that's causing the beeping, but it's hardwired. So I can't just take it out and hush it. It's hardwired. Anyway, where was I? This has been since 4 a.m. Okay. So you're gonna figure out where the resistance is because your brain doesn't categorize something as true or false without evidence, right? Without having facts to back it up, because that's how your brain works. Your brain doesn't have the emotions. Your body has the emotions. Your brain has the facts, right? Like, it's like, I imagine it like that SpongeBob episode, the fine dining episode, where it's like breathing and fine dining and all the SpongeBobs are going through and like burning all the papers. But like, that's how I imagine your brain categorizing things. Like there's no feeling, it's just information. And it's like, this is the file cabinet of why we believe that you are not in control of your financial destiny. And there's no emotion behind that. It's just, here's all the paperwork of all the evidence. But the only reason that you have all that evidence is because you haven't decided to go find evidence of the latter, right? So your job now is to go and find evidence for it being true that I am in control of my financial destiny. So this is where practical action comes into play, where this mindset work becomes practical and tangible. So all your SpongeBobs in your brain have a filled file cabinet of why I am in control of my financial destiny is a false statement. It is an empty file cabinet for why I am in control of my financial destiny is a true statement. So you need to go fill up that file cabinet or go into the archives where like they've put all the paperwork that they've deemed unnecessary and not applicable to the truths and beliefs that you've created back in the bowels of the brain. You need to go send someone back there to pull out all the paperwork to fill up this cabinet that says this is true, right? That's what you need to do. If you desire for this affirmation to be true, I am in control of my financial destiny, that is your homework. I'm going to come back to that in a second of if you desire it to be true or not. If you desire that to be true, go find and go create tangible evidence. So yes, it can be going back into the archives, which just means, can I scour my brain and my past and my history for every single reason, opportunity, experience that showed me that that was true. I am in control of my financial destiny. So for me, one of those moments would be when I stopped teaching online and I decided I didn't want to make $16 an hour. I wanted to make $30 an hour, right? And I knew that that was going to cover my baseline expenses, and I deserve to have my baseline expenses covered with ease. That's an affirmation that I decided to have. And so with that, I went and I found a job that fully fit into my creative actor lifestyle that paid me $30 an hour. I can pull that piece of evidence and be like, you made that happen. You were in control of your financial destiny, right? But I could even go further back, and I could think about my very first memory of money, right? When I had an NSYNC CD, and they came out with No Strings Attached, still one of the greatest albums to this day. And I was in elementary school at the time, and I was like, my heart is in this album. This is what I need to have. And my dad explained to me, he was like, great, this album is $7. You need to go and earn $7 in order to buy this album. So I decided that I was going to create a lemonade stand. And mind you, I lived in a cul-de-sac, and we were at like the bottom of the cul-de-sac. So we weren't getting like through traffic. So I decided that I was going to set up a lemonade stand, and brilliant business mind that I was in elementary school. I was like, okay, instead of pricing my lemonade at 50 cents a cup and having to sell 14 cups of lemonade, that's so much work. I am going to sell 1 cup of lemonade for $7. Selling 1 cup is so much easier than selling 14 cups. And so that's what I did. So I put my lemonade stand down at the bottom of the cul-de-sac. I spent the entire day out there. No one bought it, my $7 cup of watered down lemonade. And then I went inside and I cried and I was very upset. And I was talking to my dad about it. And so I went out and made a new lemonade stand the next day with a lower price point. I started to understand business principles, right? But I went and I made a little bit of money, not the full $7, but I went back in and my dad was proud of me and was like, if you give me what you earned, I need you to trust me that I'm going to get emotional. This was such like a sweet lesson that my dad taught me where he was like, I need you to trust me. You're going to give me what you earned and I just need you to trust me as your dad. Oh my God, I haven't thought about this story in a long time. And so I gave him what I earned. It was really hard because I was like, I worked so hard for this. I created my own financial destiny, like if I'm thinking about that. And then I gave him what I earned and he gave me the CD, like he had already bought it. This is so interesting. So I want you to note that like I'm feeling emotions about thinking back on this story. And so when you're journaling and when you're doing this affirmation work, note where you feel emotion and don't try and shove it down, right? Like this is something like I will never shove down emotions or crying. Like even at this moment, I'm like, I can't believe I'm crying on this live right now. But I think that feeling emotion, like when you feel heightened emotion is such important feelings data, right? Such strong feelings data. Where like after this live, I'm going to go, so I don't like continue to blubber. I'm going to go into my journal and I'm going to be like, wow, why did that story make me like have such a strong reaction right now today in my life? So I've told, when you realize you always had the capacity and had your own back, that's exactly what this story is, right? So when I think back, even in elementary school, when it wasn't like when I was an adult and I was choosing to make a higher income, even at that young of an age, I decided to choose my own financial destiny and figure out how to make $7 for this thing that I wanted. And even though it wasn't me that ended up making the full $7, that album still came into my hands based on my effort towards owning my own financial destiny. So like, that's a piece of fucking evidence, right? That's a piece of evidence that shows me that my tangible work paired with shit that I have no idea about and am not in control of, right, will give me the things that I desire. So I would log that as a piece of evidence. So the other thing too, like as I was thinking about that story and I'm feeling a lot of emotion towards it, I can't tell you right now why I feel so strongly about that story in my body, like why that much emotion just came up. So I'm going to sit in my journal and be like, was that about the affirmation? Was there something in there that I haven't, like part of that story that I haven't dissected yet? Like, does something feel raw about that right now in my life? Because I tell that story on workshops all the time, right? Like that's my first money memory. It's part of my like workshop presentation whenever I go to schools or colleges or like do speaking engagements. And this time, all of that emotion came up. That's so interesting. So as you are doing this work, that will happen to you. As you're going back through stories or as you're, doing some of these tools, like even when you add what if to the start of one of these affirmations, you use the what if principle. There might be an affirmation where you add the what if to the beginning of it and it opens this door that might just flood you with emotion of like, for example, what if making money was easy and enjoyable, right? Like I had a lot of people on the live when we did that one feel a strong like body reaction to it. And so with that flood of emotion, like you might feel a lot and you might cry or you might feel something very different than when you just said the affirmation, making money is easy and enjoyable. And so then you want to take that body feeling and you want to ask yourself why, like what's the data there that I can pull? What was the reaction? Like, what was the root of it? And usually it's not that complicated. Like this story might just be me missing my dad, or it might be something deeper about my financial autonomy and my financial destiny. And maybe I have been, so like, as we're talking this out loud, this is what I would be journaling on. I'd be like, maybe I haven't given myself enough credit that even when I was that young, I was always in control of my financial destiny, right? So as we're talking this out loud, when I started to take control of my financial destiny, what I view that as is when I, pandemic or pre-pandemic, like I got into this car accident and had to start like making some new decisions for how I was going to like move through life as an artist, right? I had my like post-college come to Jesus moment of like, you are not invincible, right? Like so anyway, I had like a big moment there around the car accident, and I clocked that as the moment that I took control of my financial destiny. But as I'm thinking back on it, I always had money on the brain. Like I was always making sure that I was working jobs, that I was even finding jobs that I enjoyed, that I was taking control of my destiny. I wasn't just going with the flow, like giving myself more credit there. Maybe that's where some of the emotion was coming from for me. But do you see how just one affirmation, which those of you who just joined us, today's affirmation is, I am in control of my financial destiny. One affirmation has now opened up this wealth of things that I can explore and discover and anchor into, right? So this is what we mean by going deep with an affirmation. And this is what we mean by like, when you feel strongly about an affirmation, when it feels like something in your body, you start to move differently. So like, I haven't even done like the deep journaling work, but just going through this on live with you, with this affirmation, my body is feeling different. Like there's some journaling that I want to do about giving myself way more credit about how much I've been in control of my financial destiny the entire time. I think that's one of the things that I've been working on this past year, is giving myself way more credit than I currently am. Of like, none of this was a fluke, right? I think that there is universal principles at work, right? Obviously it wasn't just me, but at the end of the day, it was all my work. It was all the things that I was doing. And so giving myself credit, way more credit than I currently have, which is then going to cure some of like the motivation or the, tactical issues I've been having like day to day, like showing up for work and the things that I desire to do. So there's like some confidence stuff here, which then is going to directly affect the actual work that I put out, the actual stuff that I'm able to do day to day today. This kind of work is going to have me showing up to auditions differently, showing up here differently, showing up to like just my life day to day differently. That's what that work does. Like, y'all know when you are having a high self-confidence day versus a low self-confidence day, you show up in the world differently. You show up to your workplace differently. You show up to your clients differently. Even if it might not be super perceptible to other people, there is a shift there. So this is why like that mindset and that emotion stuff is so important, because it does have you acting different in real life. Okay. So again, the affirmation today is, I am in control of my financial destiny. So you can add the what if principle, which is, what if I'm in control of my financial destiny? What comes up there as you journal on that or think on that. The other thing we talked about was going out and finding practical evidence for why you are in control of your financial destiny. Oh, this was the other thing I wanted to say. When we were talking about like SpongeBob running around in the fine dining episode and like finding all the files in all the cabinets, filling up the cabinet that says that's a true statement, right, is going to take some effort on your part. So go back into the archives. That's when I shared that personal story of mine. But then I want you to go out and create new evidence. Go create evidence for why you are in control of your own financial destiny. So what does that look like? That could be something as simple as pulling up your bank accounts to look at your balances, right? Part of being in control of your financial destiny is understanding your numbers, understanding what's happening in your bank accounts. So instead of just like repeating that to yourself over and over and over and over again, right? And just like it becoming white noise and just being like, I have to believe it, I have to believe it, I have to believe it. Go pull up your bank accounts and be like, see, this is why I'm in control of my financial destiny. Because I'm not afraid to go and look at my numbers and assess how I'm managing, assess how I'm spending, assess how I'm saving, right? I want to make some new decisions, right? Creating evidence to prove that that's true. So go get that financial education, right? Go create a world in which when you bring in more money, you actually have a way to manage it, which then puts you in control of your financial destiny. If you want to make more money, great. If that, like, go find evidence for why you could go make more money. Go make more money then, right? I mean, this could be as simple as just asking for a raise you haven't asked for, right? This could be as simple as, I did an episode on this. It's called Make an Extra $500 a Month. I linked it in my stories yesterday. So if you haven't listened to that podcast episode, it was released over the holidays. It's called Make an Extra $500 a Month this month or something like that. I linked it in my stories, which you can go find as well. It's on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. I ran this experiment on myself. So the Make an Extra $500 a Month is a training inside of the video portal that all of my clients get. So I ran this training through my own life, and I decided to make an extra $500 a month, not in my business. So like, this is my full-time income, but I wanted to run it outside of my business, right? Like as if I was still a freelancer. And so I run the experiment through myself, and then I also teach you how to do the process. So go listen to that episode and then start taking action from that training and go prove to yourself that you can make an extra $500 a month this month, or go just make an extra $20 a month this month, and then clock that as evidence that you are in control of your financial destiny, that you don't need to wait for an employer, a casting director, whatever, to give you a big break, to give you money, whatever. You can go create it for yourself. And if there's somewhere that's not valuing you and that is not putting you on a trajectory financially that you desire, that you will leave. And there are so many other places where you can create that for yourself or find that for yourself. Can you go then make that happen? And what I want to say about evidence, there was a pit in my stomach at the affirmation. Feelings of worry came up as I was focusing on the past. Sure. So notice that pit. Talk to that pit. This is like a somatic thing that you can do where like if the pit is in your stomach, like sit and breathe into it and like kind of imagine it. What does it physically feel like? You could even like take it into your hands. Like once you visualized it, take it into your hands. Something I like to do then is like talk to it and ask like, what are you trying to tell me? What are you made of? Like I'm not trained somatically. These are just things that I've learned from coaches, from just practicing somatically on myself and seeing what works for me. But it's about asking your body, like, what is happening? Why are you here? And then holding space for it. So that's something you can do here too. But then also go through and do some of these other exercises to see if the affirmation, like in a different way, different phrasing with the what if principle, finding new evidence for it, if it starts to shift and feel less like a pit. So when you're collecting evidence, I want you to make it so important that you do not discount any piece of evidence whatsoever. So something as simple as I went out and made $20 that I wouldn't have originally made with the intention of I'm in control of my financial destiny. That $20, you better put that in your evidence that you are in control of your financial destiny. Did you have a job offer come in that you didn't want to take but was at a higher pay rate? Great. You are in control of your financial destiny. So did you look at your bank accounts today? Did you literally just pull up your bank accounts? You are in control of your financial destiny. Do not discount any single little bit of evidence because you need all the evidence you can get in order to boost up the file cabinet on the true side versus the false side. Okay? So again, for anyone who just joined, the affirmation we are working on today is I am in control of my financial destiny. So the other thing I want to say here, I said earlier, if you desire that affirmation to be true, go find evidence and go create evidence, right? Fill up that file cabinet of true instead of focusing on all the information that's in the false cabinet. But there might be part of you that does not desire that to be true. And why would that be? Because I am in control of my financial destiny puts you on the hook, puts you in control. And I think for a lot of us, and I'm right there with you, it is nice to be beholden to the whims of what's happening externally because it takes you off the hook from having to make decisions and it puts you not at fault for the things that are happening that you don't like. Okay. So there might be a part of you that does not want to believe that because you don't want to be on the hook for your own financial destiny. Now, I want to be very particular about how I talk about this here because there's two things at play, right? There are meta societal problems and issues that are very real, that are actively pushing down marginalized communities and anyone who is not in the 1%. That is literally the structure capitalistically, economically, politically that we are living in, especially here in the United States, okay? Because that's where I live. That's my frame of reference. That is very true. So the fact that it feels hard to make money and that minimum wage is low, and especially for artists, right? Like not being paid your worth, there are things in place that categorically make that true. So I want to be very clear that that exists. And there is also then this other realm where you have this one life to live, right? You were given one singular precious life, right? That I think a lot of us, we all have had this, I think, since 2020, like the existential, like, oh my God, we have one life to live. Like we've always heard that, but it's starting to like come into our like actual visceral feelings. You have one life. And so you getting to then decide inside of this rigged Monopoly game, how do I want to play the game / get some cheat codes to play the game, right? To raise me and my friends up in order in my community so that I can live an incredible, expansive life. So there, you can acknowledge the meta shit that's happening and have meta frustration and anger and fight for change, while also deciding that you get to be the exception to the rule, because a rising tide lifts all boats. When you are more financially autonomous, you are able to give more autonomy to your community and the people around you. You're able to love better. You're able to show up better. Money is just an expander for who you already are. Okay. So when we're thinking about desiring this affirmation to be true, I am in control of my own financial destiny, there might be a part of you that does not want that affirmation to be true. Because if that affirmation were true, if you were someone who was totally in control of her financial destiny, what does that mean? What does that mean you have to do? What does that mean you take responsibility for? And that's some heavy stuff sometimes, right? And I'm telling you, this affirmation is one I worked on a lot back in 2020 when I was having to ask myself that question. I was like, as an artist, do I desire to be in control of my financial destiny? And my answer was yes, but there was a part of me that was like, fuck, that feels like it's going to take a lot of work to make happen. Right? To fully be in control. Like I didn't plan to start a business at that point because that felt like a lot, but I was like, I need to start taking baby steps to make this true, because I don't like that. I don't want that to be true, because there is an energy of ease that comes with just being able to sit back and be like, this is what life is, right? I wish it was easier, but it's not. Minimum wage is what it is. Fuck me. Fuck this. Artists are broke and paid shit, so I'm just going to be mad about it, right? And then not have to put yourself on the hook to make personal change. So again, to be very clear, there's two things at play here. There's the literal meta facts and societal issues, and then there's what you decide your life gets to look like personally, okay? And that's where I want you to focus this energy. So I want you to sit with, if any of that resonated, same, yes. If any of that resonated with wanting that to affirmation to be true or not, journal on that. Like, why does it feel comfortable? Why is it serving me to feel out of control of my financial destiny? Why is it serving me to feel out of control in my financial destiny? I also had to do a version of this affirmation work when, last year, when I was entering my second EPA season, audition season here in New York City. And the first year I lived here, I got no callbacks. Right? No callbacks from EPAs. I was not represented. So it felt like crickets that first year, but I was like, okay, I'm laying foundations. But then I had to ask myself, I was like, am I in control of my creative destiny? And I did not like having to think about that question, because I realized from doing journaling on, am I in control of my creative destiny, that I was putting all of my creative fulfillment in the hands of casting directors, in the hands of directors, theaters, showrunners, like all of that. I was putting all of my creative destiny in their hands, and I didn't like that. But then I was like, okay, but if I was fully in control of my creative destiny, what would I have to do? What would that mean for the responsibility that I have as a creative? And so with that was hard. My ego took a real hit. So as you're thinking about this affirmation, I'm in control of my financial destiny, your ego is going to take a hit. Say to your ego, I'm going to put you aside for a second. I'm going to go take a nap. I know you're going to hear some things over here that we're talking about. Take a freaking nap, and you're going to have to sit with what comes up for you here. So one of the things I had to do, put my ego aside and say, what have you not been doing? What are all of the things that you could be doing to put yourself in control of your creative destiny that you didn't do the first year that would put you more in control? And so what I did was I just started, I made a list of a lot of action steps that I could take, but I was like, I would show up differently to these EPAs. I would have a new monologue or piece for every single EPA. And that is exactly what I fucking did. I have so much rep in my book right now because I did a new piece of material for every single EPA. I treated it like a callback. I was like, I'm coming in with material from this show and I'm going to work my ass off on it. And it's an EPA, but I don't care because this is how I take control of my creative destiny. Through that, I was able to get a manager that I'm really excited about. I booked my first 2 commercials from self-tapes, right? Like I started looking inside myself of what are the things that I want to do rather than trying to find the roadmap or the other people that have answers. So I got 5 callbacks this past year in 2024 for theater shows that were dream shows. Like I have wanted to be in these shows for ages. I got final callbacks for 5 of them. So I went from 0 callbacks to 5 callbacks, and then I booked 2 commercials, right? Just off of self-tapes and EPAs. So when I asked myself that question and let me tell you, like I fought this because my ego was so mad about it. It was like, no, you're an artist. You just like, the industry is so fucked and it's so hard to break in. And I'm like, okay, but what if that wasn't true? That's so annoying that I feel like that's true and I don't want it to be true, but like I have to take responsibility. So when you're thinking about today's affirmation, I am in control of my financial destiny. What does that bring up for you? Go deep on this one today. This affirmation is like the core of Not Starving Artists. I am in control of my financial destiny is the one belief that I want every single one of you to ingrain inside of your body. This is the one. If you take nothing out of the rest of these 10 days, I might say this every single day for the next 10 days because I always feel like there's like the one thing that I want you to take away. But truly, if I were to create an affirmation for the Not Starving Artist community, it would be this one. I am in control of my financial destiny. It is not in the hands of anyone else who can say yes or no to you. It is in your hands. But what does that mean for you? Because it's going to mean something different for every single one of you in your work path, in your income, in your passions, in your creativity, whatever that means. What does being in control of your financial destiny mean for you? Okay, so go journal. This is a big one. Put this one on a Post-it and like put it on your mirror, put it around your home. And I see this done with affirmations all the time, like put them on sticky notes so that you see them everywhere, like put an alarm on your phone where it like pops up. But the difference here is I don't want you to just read it. I want you to have it posted around so that after you do this work on it, when you see it, it feels like something, right? It feels like something. The other thing that we talked about yesterday was you can put on a song that makes you feel really like excited, confident, the world is my oyster. Like we all have one of those songs, right? Put on that song and then repeat this phrase into your brain over and over and over. I'm in control of my financial destiny. I'm in control of my financial destiny. Go on a rant. What if I was in control of my financial destiny? What would I need to do in order to take my financial destiny into my own hands, right? And then go find evidence for it. This was a good one today. I will see you here for day 5 tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to do 10 a.m. Eastern time because it's a Friday. I'm going to sleep in a little bit. 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow for day 5. I'm so excited. All right. Thank you all for joining me today. Enjoy doing your homework. Come tomorrow on day 5 and tell me about how day 4 was for you. Like play with this affirmation today and then come tomorrow and tell me how it was for you. Sending you lots of love. Bye y'all.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Come join me on Instagram for more on how to build a simple, sexy relationship with your money. My Instagram handle is @NotStarvingArtists. And if you want to dive deeper with me, head to the show notes to learn more about one-on-one coaching. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend that you want to get rich with.